Alright, so I want to say something a little personal. Growing up, coming out of high school, I felt like I had to put on a front. I pretended like I was, big time player, and I was pretending like I was getting in fights. I would tell people like, "Oh yeah, I got in a lot of fights," and "Oh yeah, I get all these chicks." I think a part of it was when people were asking like, "Yo, is Ryan gay?" I heard people asking this because I wasn't. They never saw me with any chicks because I'm always by myself. That's the thing. But people were starting to question because, not to sound arrogant or anything, but a lot of girls were liking me. But I didn't do anything about it. So people were starting to question that. And I started to put on an act. Started to put on a front like, "Oh yeah, I'm getting all these chicks. I'm getting all this. I'm getting girls every night. You just don't know about it. It's because these girls out of school." And I was telling people like, "Oh yeah, I get in fights all the time." And I was acting like I was a thug. Then I went to UC San Diego. And when I first got there, I went there to play basketball. When I first got there, I was with this one kid, a really nice guy. And I first started to try to put on that front like, "Oh yeah, I get all these chicks and I'm this type of guy," and which is a lie. I was putting on the front. And I noticed that, this guy was actually a Christian. And he was really nice, and he wasn't about that at all. And he was like, "Oh yeah, me," he told me, "Hey, Ryan, he's a virgin." And I was like, "What?" And I was saying, because the reason why I was like, "What?" is because, I'm not going to get into it too much, but I was a virgin too. So I was like, "Oh, dang." Actually, I'm not going to talk about it. Hope maybe later. I don't want to talk about it. But yeah, so I was like, yeah, I was like, "Oh, really? Okay." And then I started to hang out with this guy from my school, Harvard Westlake, that I went to. And he was an older guy, and he was a basketball coach. And he was Christian too. And he started to, I told him about how I was making up this stuff up, about how I was such a player and all this stuff. And I told him, I'm just making it up. And I had gotten in trouble for doing stuff that I actually really didn't do. It had to do with this whole phenomena. Should I tell you the story of that? All right, I think I'll tell you the story of that. So like I said, I started to think, I should start showing people that I'm a player because I don't want them, I think that that's important. So I think that's a cool thing to do. All my friends are getting a lot of girls, it seems like, or at least they're saying that. Maybe they're also lying, but I think that they actually were getting a lot of girls. So I was just like, okay, I got to put on that front. So then I ended up taking this one girl to get John Beach. I'm not going to talk about too much. But, I brought her, and then I didn't really do anything. I honestly didn't do anything. I brought her to the side, and we did kiss. And then what I did was I kind of gestured to my shorts. Like, I looked at her to see, like I looked at her like this, and I kind of went like this. Like, no, I didn't do anything. I just went like this. I was just like, do you want, and I was like, do you want, and then she was like, no. She was like, "No, Ryan." And then she opened up the door, she slammed the door, and then she went out, and I really didn't do anything. I honestly did not do anything at all. So then I'm like, "Oh shoot, what the heck?" And I kind of go back a little bit in the car, and then I'm like, "Do you want to ride back?" And then she gets back in the car, and I'm like, "Geez." And I start, I ride back, but it's still in my head. I'm thinking, I gotta be a player. What are people gonna think about me? And I'm pretty brainwashed in this aspect. So I ride back, and then I bring her back, and then she opens the door again, and she slams the door, and then my mirror moves funny, and I'm thinking like, shoot. So then I get out of the car, and I see my friend. I'm not going to say any names. I don't like to say people's names because I don't want people to think that I say people's names. But I saw my friend, and he asked me, "Hey, what happened with you and you know who?" And I was like, "Oh, yo." So what happened was, so right now my ego's hurt, and I'm thinking, shoot, I have to make up a story that makes it seem like I did something stupid for her to not like me. I have to do something to protect my ego. So I think, okay, what could I have done to make her upset with me? Because I'm figuring she's upset with me, so she maybe she doesn't want to talk to me anymore or something. I don't know. I honestly really didn't do anything. I'm not making it up. You could ask her. You could ask anybody, or you can't ask anybody because I made it up. But you could ask her. But I really didn't do anything. But so I told Ronaldo, I was like, yeah, what happened, man, was, oh shit, I said the name. All right, fine, I'll say that one name. But he wouldn't mind if I said this. So I told him, hey, so what happened was I pulled out my penis. We were in the car and I pulled out my penis and I told her to suck my penis. But I said it in different language. The D word. And then Ronaldo was like, what, Ryan? Are you serious? Dude, you can't do stuff like that. You're crazy. And I was like, yeah, hey, what can I say? I am crazy. And then he was like, dude, you shouldn't have done that. Obviously, she's going to be pissed at you. And I was like, yeah, this is exactly the response I wanted. I was like, yeah, of course she's pissed at me because I did something stupid. So then, of course, it spreads. I think probably Ronaldo tells somebody and then tells someone else, and then that person tells somebody what happened. They're all saying that I pulled out my penis and I told her to give me oral sex. That didn't happen at all. Not even close. So that was a mistake that I did with Ronaldo. I lied. I don't want to sound arrogant or anything, but this is a common thing that happens. If you look at the Bible, it happened to Joseph. He got in trouble for sexual harassment thing. He didn't do anything. But yeah, I don't want to get into it too much. But this is what happened. And then next thing I know, I'm standing in the yard thing. I'm just hanging out. And then I get run up to and I'm getting hit by this girl. And she's like, I hate you. Because what happened was, I guess it spread around and it got back to her. And then, she was embarrassed. And she was probably thinking, what the heck did you tell people, So then I got in a little trouble, and then I also got in trouble, but for something I didn't do again. I got in trouble. I was with my basketball team, and there was this kid who was saying something, and I got up and I kind of went at him a little bit, but I wasn't gonna hit him. But then I get punched by two kids in the head, and I, really bad, and then like my jaw was kind of messed up. I forgive them. It's okay, guys. I forgive you. It's okay. But I understand because I was annoying people. And yeah, so, and also earlier that day I had done a freestyle rap against the kid who punched me, and I kind of said something about his mom, and but so I got punched, and then I didn't touch anybody. I didn't punch anybody, and I kind of I was kind of like I said, I had the shoot away thing. My dad bought me the shoot away. I would pick it up off the shoot away. It messed up my shot. We couldn't figure out what was wrong with my shot. I would shoot 500 shots on the shoot away thing. But I wasn't doing it normal. Like I said, people try to fix things. They think, okay, I'll get you a shoot away. It'll make things better. But it's not natural. So I'm picking it off the shoot away, and then my shot gets too square. Everything's messed up. And I had never really thought about how I shot in that aspect. It was more natural. My dad would help me, but I didn't need too much help because my shot was, I would just move into it naturally and shoot. And I shot a lot normally. But then I get the shoot away, it messed up my shot. So I was kind of messed up. And anyways, I couldn't shoot. I kind of wanted to stop playing basketball. So, but then there was a game where I get back from the game, and there's this one kid on my team who was supposed to drive me home because I was fighting with my dad and my mom too much, and they wanted me to live with my friend because I was fighting with my dad about my shot. I just needed him to help me with my shot. But he wouldn't help me anymore, and really there was nothing he could do. It was a shoot away, and there was other stuff too, but it was mainly the shoot away. And I kept on trying to fix it on the shoot away, and he would have me do form shots, and he would try to fix it, but that's not going to help. What's going to help is if I never had the shoot away, and you just shoot naturally. You step into it, you shoot naturally, but then once you start thinking about stuff too much, it messes you up completely. You can't go back. So then... so I'm going back from a game, And I asked the kid, I'm like, hey, you have to drive me home. And he said he didn't want to drive me home. So I thought, okay, I'll get back at you then. So then he had keys. I'd never stolen anything in my life, and this is actually true. I know this, that I had never stolen anything because I remember kids would be stealing things from the cafeteria. And then one kid was telling me about how he stole things from the cafeteria. He asked me if I ever stole anything. I told him I never stolen anything because I have too much of it really messes me up to steal something. So I was like, no, I've never stolen anything. I never smoked, drank, done anything, never stole anything. And here I am being labeled as a crazy kid at school doing crazy stuff. But then I think, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this kid's keys from his bag and I'm going to scare him and drive off. And also while I drive off, I'm going to call my mom and tell her, hey, you should let me back into my house. And because look at how crazy I am now, and this is what you're doing to me, trying to get back at your mom and your dad. So I thought, okay, I'm going to take this kid's car, I'm going to drive a little bit, call my mom and say, see, I took this kid's car. You should let me back into my house, because, I don't want to be living at another person's house anymore. And I'm really happy the person who let me live at his house. But I was like, yeah, I don't want to be living in another person's house. I want to go back home. And so I call my mom, and then my mom's like, Ryan, what are you doing? And it's kind of working. It's working. I'm thinking, yes, she's buying it. She's really upset. But then, like I said, I am an INTP. INTPs get lost easy. And I don't know directions and stuff about, I just am always thinking about other stuff, so I don't pay attention to my surroundings. So I'm driving, and really honestly, I didn't purposefully drive off in the middle of nowhere. I just really got lost. And I start to try to find my way back, but then I get more and more lost, and I don't know where the heck I am. So then I call Mark. Well, I'm not going to say his name. But, I like the kid. I like everybody, But I call the kid, and I'm like, hey, I have your car. Come get your car. So then his parents come, and then they pick me up. Or I forget what happened, but somehow Marco came, I think. And then he just took his car back, and then I was brought, I forget how, I was brought back to my friend's house that I was staying at. So now I have the reputation of being after that I had a reputation of being like a thief and also getting in fights. I never punched anybody. I punched one kid once when I was in the 5th grade in the stomach, and it was a good punch. And I knocked him out pretty bad. But that was the only time I wasn't in the 5th grade, I think I was in the 4th grade. But that was the only time I ever punched anybody, I'll be honest with that. But other than that, I hadn't punched anybody. And also, I did punch my dad, because me and my dad got in a fight. And he came at me really hard, and he was going to hurt me. So I gave him a really quick punch to the sternum, and I broke his sternum. I didn't, it was just, we were in a fight, and he was going to hurt me pretty bad. I knew it. So he ran after me, and then I had to give him a quick jab into the sternum. And I actually did it really soft. I didn't want to hurt him, and it still broke his sternum. So yeah, those are the only 2 times I had punched anybody. I had never stolen anything. I had never done anything else. Literally nothing else. But then I'm labeled as the bad kid at school. And then it was actually after that stealing the car incident. Then there was a sexual thing, and I really honestly didn't do anything. I just lied because of my ego. So then I get in big trouble, and they ask me not to come back to school. So like I said, it's ironic. I'm putting on a front. I really am not fighting with anybody, but I'm acting like I'm a thug. I'm a badass. And then like I said, I met the dude who's a Christian. The older guy who was a basketball coach, talked to him about it, and he's telling me, Ryan, man, you're putting on a front. Just stop putting on a front. Stop fooling yourself. Stop trying to fool other people. You're not a thug. You're not a gangster. Just act normal. So I was like, yeah, you know what, you're right. But still, I didn't buy it completely. I still thought you got to act like you're a player. You got to act cool, especially if I'm going to be playing ball at UCSD. These guys are probably players. These guys, it's probably going to be the same scene that I was in before. So then I go to UCSD. Like I said, I meet this first kid. He's a nice guy. He's like, yeah, I don't do anything stupid. And I'm like, okay. and I start to act normal with him. And then I meet the other guys on the team, and they're all Christians, and they're all nice guys, and they're not doing anything stupid. They're all just extremely nice. It was amazing how awesome these guys were, and it really saved me because I probably would have kept on being an idiot. And I was kind of, things were messed up. But then I see these guys, and they're not acting stupid. They're being really nice. They're not acting like fools. And it really helped me out so much. So, yeah, I just want to say that. They were super nice to me. And I wasn't playing good. I didn't deserve to be playing. My head was not in basketball at all. My shot was too messed up. But the thing was, even with this, these guys were amazing to me, and that helped me out so much. And they showed me that I don't have to put on an act. None of them were putting on acts. They weren't, talking about how many girls they were doing, which, with me it was 0. They weren't doing anything like that. I still, there's always that tendency to try to show off and stuff, but they helped me out a lot, and this really saved me, I think. But the ego, what I'm getting at is the ego can get you in trouble. And sometimes it's good to be, to recognize, it's good to have the conservative force to help you out. And I think that when I went to play ball at UCSD, being around those guys helped me out a ton. And it did heal me in that aspect. I stopped putting on a front. But I do think society in general is sick, though. But I don't really care. Actually, I don't think that. I don't really care either way. Nothing really matters. But, all right. But what was I talking about? So I want to talk about how Christianity, though, how it started to get popular. And then hopefully we can go into philosophy. So, like I said, right after, according to historians, right after, Paul starts to preach to people. And remember, Jesus was not the only guy that had a story about a death and a resurrection. But so there's one example that I heard from this guy, Bert Ehrman, that Paul met up with this guy. And this guy was describing this Savior guy who had, healed people. He had done a lot of miracles. He died and resurrected from the dead. All the criteria, all the same things Jesus had done. And he said this guy's name was something Chrysippus. I forget exactly what his name was. And then Paul was like, no, the guy who you're worshiping is actually a demon guy. The real guy you should be worshiping is Jesus Christ. And the interesting thing was Paul had never known Jesus Christ, never met Jesus Christ. He, except maybe someone would say that in the conversion experience where he falls off of his horse after he's killing Christians, and then he sees the light. But Paul's telling this guy, this Chrysippus guy, who also had never probably met the Chrysippus, he said, no, your religion is, who the guy you're worshiping is wrong. Ours is right. So the question is, why is it though that Christianity got to be such a popular religion over these other religions? And this is what sociologists say. Sociologists say that the reason is because, well, first off, a lot of Romans wanted to convert to Judaism. And why did they want to convert to Judaism? Because Judaism offered a good safety net, social network. You had, if you're a part of Judaism, you have people who can help you out, people who have your backs. If you're sick, you got people who can take care of you. You have people that you can meet up every week with, and you have rituals that you can have with them. And it's a nice thing to have, and it also helps you to survive. And there's been studies indicating that Jews and Christians survived better. They had better health. They lived longer than the other people who did not have the same type of social net or social network and everything that Christianity and Judaism offered. So remember though, religion is religion is a second quadrant field of inquiry. It is social in nature. Remember, religion comes from the word, the same word that ligament comes from, ligio, I guess, and this means to bind. So religion does offer social belongingness, and this is benefit to people's health. And the pagan religions didn't offer this as much. Because the pagan stuff, you have a lot of gods, and not everyone's meeting together at the same time, and it's kind of different. So a lot of people wanted to convert to Judaism, but Judaism, like I said, it's the fifth quadrant religion after Hinduism. It's not necessarily a world religion. Why? Because it doesn't actively convert people, and it does not really welcome people too much to be converted. It didn't. And remember, like I said, Paul told the Gentiles, do not convert to Judaism, convert to Christianity. And Paul continued to be a Jew. So you have to remember the thesis. But, so what ended up happening was the Gentiles, they didn't have Judaism to go to, and Judaism offered this social group to have that helped, that was a health benefit. So what they went to was Christianity. They thought, let's convert to Christianity, and then they had this group that they could belong to and that could help them out. And it's been studied that these people ended up living longer and they were happier and healthier, like the Jews. Now here's another fascinating thing. So remember that later there's the Protestant Reformation where Luther and these guys start to say, you know what? The Catholic Church is becoming corrupt, and this is what happens with religion. The Catholic Church was taking what's called indulgences. So people would pay the church, and the church would pay what's called indulgences, and the church would say, okay, because you gave us these indulgences, we will pray for you, and therefore you will go to heaven. So the second quadrant, it's kind of greedy in this aspect. It's helping you out, but at the same time, the church is corrupt. It's taking the money from the people. It's keeping them dumb. They don't know anything about the Bible. The church is reading things in Latin, and people don't even understand what the language is. And they're giving the church this money so they can have eternal life. So Luther comes around and he says, hey, you know what? This is too corrupt. Let's start the Protestant Reformation. So they start the Protestant Reformation, and people start becoming Protestants. Now, the interesting thing is, nowadays, a lot of people are leaving Protestantism. A lot of people are leaving Christianity. And one of the reasons why sociologists theorize this is because Protestantism does not offer the same social net anymore. And people are sticking more with Catholicism than these other ones. Even though there's the rape cases and everything. People leave Protestantism more often. And the theory is because it doesn't have the social safety net, the social, because, Catholicism, there's a lot of rituals and social gatherings and all this, but Protestantism doesn't offer this as much. You don't have to go to church. You can, study. You study the Bible on your own. You don't have to listen to authority. So it's kind of more, you're more on your own. So what ends up happening is people leave Protestantism more often, and so like I said, the theory is because it doesn't offer the social net. But look what does offer this social group is Mormonism. Mormonism, to be a Mormon, you have to go to the church, and you have to pay certain things, and you have to, there's all these rules, requirements, regulations, and what's going on with Mormonism right now is it's experiencing an exponential growth rate. This was the same exponential growth rate that Christianity experienced in Rome, and as it was spreading after Paul started preaching it to the Gentiles, it started to grow exponentially. Well, the same exponential growth is occurring in Mormonism right now. And sociologists think, well, it's because Mormonism offers this social stuff, and the social stuff gives people health benefits. People know this, they want this, and this is why Mormonism is experiencing this growth. So just some more stuff on sociology. Hopefully we can continue more later.